So, Bruce, the third question we have for you is, we hear a lot about affordability without a definition. What is your plan to ensure that the 1/4 of our neighbors who make less than $50,000 a year can afford to stay in Seattle?
Well, you define one segment of affordability, of course, which is that segment. I sort of look at affordability as whenever anyone is housing insecure, depending on relative to what they make and what they're paying for either rent or mortgage, when they are clearly paying a certain percentage and they are housing insecure, that is not affordable to them. So in terms of our plan, all of these strategies we outlined, 65 strategies we did when we did the hollow work, I think that was some rich work. And so out of that, you had incentive zoning, you had the use of a housing levy, you had tax exemptions for qualified people on limited income, you had people who were incarcerated, allowing them to have a chance to not recidivate and commit crimes, but to make it affordable for them. You had land trusts. You just had, quite frankly, a number of options to make our city affordable. What I would like to see more of is making sure many of these large corporations that do extract so much wealth out of our city, I like to see their participation as well, not just governmental tools, but I like to see employers really step up and realizing that there's so many hardworking people that are housing insecure. So one of our strategies will be to tap into that sort of untapped market for incentives from employers, and then we could work from a tax incentive standpoint to incentivize them to help their employees.
Great, thank you. Now we'll consider zoning as one tool. How will changing single-family zoning to neighborhood residential zoning create new low-income rental housing? Or is this a change in name only as promised by the sponsor?
Well, I can't speak for the sponsor if it's for name only. I am in the conversations talking about the elimination of single-family zoning. What I've said is that this requires a citywide conversation, a very transparent conversation to look at what's done in other cities to achieve affordability. I'm not convinced that the elimination of single-family zoning in 2022 makes sense. That again, we have to work with neighborhoods. We have to have an open dialogue. We have to look at access to transit, access to jobs. We have to look at the existing infrastructure that sits as we speak. Now, I do fully understand the history of exclusionary zoning, and I think the city needs to take a look at how it began. But we will work with neighborhoods and community advocates and neighborhood advocates to make sure we are implementing the right policies.
Thank you for that answer. The fifth question is, displacement is a major concern. Many rental houses are the targets of multifamily development. 23% of single-family homes in Seattle are rentals. Large multi-generational families have no other option than renting a single-family home. Since for-profit developers are building almost exclusively studios and one-bedroom apartments, what would you do to avoid displacing these families?
So again, we have to look at our existing housing stock, what is being built and what is being lost. And we have to make it in a very easily understandable format so we could truly see what's happening to the city. As many of you may know, I was born and raised in this city, and it is boggling the kind of growth we've had in the city. At one point, I think a few years ago, 1,000 people moving here per week. And so, yes, that I am sort of concerned that we're not seeing it with data. And so what I will do is, again, open up all the data in terms of the available units. What do we have zoning capacity for? Where are we overbuilding? And again, I can't use the word transparency and measurement enough, because again, I need to prove to the city the kind of growth we are experiencing and make sure that we have the right balance to have a quality of life in Seattle that everyone can enjoy.
Thank you. Now we're going to have a quick round of yes/no questions. So please indicate your answer with a thumbs up or thumbs down. And then I think John is going to have to say your answers out loud because I'm not sure I can see them. Here we go. Will increased market rate housing development in Seattle improve housing affordability?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question again? Will increasing market rate, can you say that again?
Yes. Will increasing market rate housing development in Seattle improve housing affordability?
Will increasing market rate increase affordability? Come on, I mean, what?
Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Everybody's
I don't, I don't know if, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that. We need to increase all housing stock. So I mean, I don't think that's a yes or no question. I'm sorry.
okay. Okay. So
I don't think it's a yes or no question.
come up with some kind of a waffle, but
Yeah,
just
waffle. Okay, waffle.
all right. That's good. So considering our warming climate, are you willing to support a major tree planting program concentrating especially on the heat islands in South Seattle neighborhoods?
Yes.
Cool. Does ridding Seattle of single-family zoning cause a loss of older, more affordable homes? In other words, does it cause displacement?
I think it can.
Again, just the signal. Regarding mandatory housing affordability, or MHA, is not working as intended because only 12% of projects include low-income housing on site, when the goal was 50%. Would you support raising the fees so that developers would be more likely to include them on site?
So you said say something earlier because you couldn't see. And so when I say something, you say don't say anything. So I'm going to say possibly yes.
Okay. Thank you. Do you support the Compassion Seattle's charter amendment? Thank you. That's a yes. Seattle is well known for pioneering the concept of urban villages and urban centers, defined as places with multiple frequent transit within a 10-minute walk. Seattle then committed to locating investments such as libraries, senior centers, and community centers where the most people would have access. But these promises have not been kept. Do you support retaining the 39 urban villages and transit-oriented development as a core planning principle for absorbing density while maximizing access to transit? Thank you. Seattle has more dogs than children, but only 14 off-leash dog parks. Would you support a goal of a dog park within walking distance of every urban center or village to make complete neighborhoods? Thank you. In the U District, Rob Johnson promised not to raise the height limits on the Ave. Will you as mayor promise to protect the Ave as a Seattle institution and its small businesses by not upzoning it? Thank you. Will you incorporate genuine and representational community input into the massive redevelopment of our city? Thank you. South Park is a low-income neighborhood of single-family homes, cherished for its ethnic diversity. Will you commit to protecting South Park from encroachment by its industrial neighbors? Thank you. Given that Seattle's tree canopy is shrinking due to increased density, and the city has been promising a stronger tree ordinance for the past 12 years, will you commit to passing and enforcing a robust tree ordinance next year that will maximize the retention of existing trees and plant more trees in previously redlined areas? Thank you. That's it for the yes, no. We want to respect the time of our candidates and our audience. We're going to call on each candidate for a 2-minute wrap up with the opportunity to clarify any responses or to distinguish your position from what you might know of your opponents. Please watch the timer carefully. You have 2 minutes. Thank you in advance for participating.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the questions. One of the difficult questions you asked me had to do with whether building market rate affordability would affect affordability. And the reason why I waffled is much like my style. I am very eager to be decisive. I make decisions, but I also make database decisions, and I don't like to wing things. And I think that what makes my candidacy unique of the 15 candidates is that that's my life philosophy, that I will be decisive. I don't do things in a mediocre fashion. I take the the issues in the city extremely serious. I've been around for a while, and I have been elected several times because at the end of the day, I lead with a few things. I lead with my personal values, and that is to treat all people as I would want to be treated, to be kind, to be respectful, to listen, to do research, to listen and research and look at best practices, and try not to say things that just people want to hear because they think that will get them electable. The city to me means too much. That what I see right now in terms of the homelessness issue, in terms of housing affordability, public safety, small business revitalization. We are going to lose many jobs in our city, and there will be winners and losers after the pandemic. I don't support the defund model because I want a safe city and I want 7-minute response times. So I hope that those watching this video will look at me favorably and know that I will be honest and say I do not know all of the answers, but I do know the process by which to get to the right answers, which is collaboration, research, talking to communities, and trusting your own good values, trusting those that, whether it's your parents or grandparents, trusting those values that you were taught. And that will be the mayor that I hope to be. And with that, I ask for your support.
Thank you so much. We're going to end recording here.